in Oxford, Mississippi. Georgia at Ole Miss. Georgia's 2.5-point favorite on the road. Ari, my trouble picking this game is not knowing which version of either team is going to show up, because the Ole Miss team that played against Arkansas, despite not having Trey Harris or Caden Prieskorn, was awesome. Was the Ole Miss team we thought we'd see all season. Like, the defense created the first touchdown. The offense took it the rest of the way. Like, if Trey Harris is back healthy and they're playing the way they played in that game, they're going to be really tough to beat at home, no matter how well Georgia plays. Meanwhile, we saw Georgia against Florida looking very shaky. We also saw Georgia against Texas 2 weeks before that looking like the national champions. I don't know. I don't know who's showing up here.
I don't know who's showing up here either. What's Lane Kiffin's biggest win at Ole Miss?
None. Nothing that you could speak of compared to this game.
Right.
And remember, this roster was assembled not because, well, they did want to make the playoff, but specifically assembled to win this game, to beef them up on the lines of scrimmage so that they could compete with Georgia. Like, if you watch the Ole Miss Georgia game last year in Athens, now granted, it was the healthiest Georgia was all season, but Ole Miss looked competitive for about a quarter, and then Georgia absolutely steamrolled them for 3 quarters. That's what we're talking about here. Lane Kiffin has never won one of these games. Does he get off the schneid here, Ari?
I'm not going to pick it. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pick Georgia to win this game by 3. Yeah, I think that they could do that. I just don't know if I can get myself there. Like, I think that this is what they paid for. They paid to win this game. Actually going out and doing it is a completely different scenario. Georgia also played a clunker last week. So the odds of them doing it back-to-back weeks are probably lower if you respect what Kirby Smart's all about, and I obviously do, and the world should. I just don't see it. And I think that there's a way that you could talk yourself into Ole Miss has a great offense. They figured out how to throw to somebody that wasn't Trey Harris last week, and they might be getting Trey Harris back. Their lines are very good. Defensive line interior could cause some issues. Carson Beck has been throwing picks. Like, there was a path there. Like, you can actually come up with a path, but do you think that path is going to be traveled down? All right.
You mentioned Carson Beck. So here's where I'm going to devil's advocate you, Ari, because we talked about Carson Beck and the Lambo and the TikToks. We saw him against Florida, and when there was pressure, he made some very bad choices. Against Texas, when there was pressure, he made some very bad choices with the ball. Much like getting a Lamborghini SUV when you could just get a real Lamborghini. Bad choices. He's going to get pressured this week.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's offensive line, even if they were completely healthy and playing their best game, Ole Miss would still get some pressure because that's how good their D-line is. He's going to throw into coverage, and that's what scares me. If you'd like to, I don't know, the Florida Gators are playing in Austin. We're going to talk about that game in a second. They have not played I don't believe they've ever played in Austin before. You can get tickets to that game on Game Time. Use the code Staples, $20 off your first purchase. Or if you want to go to one of those big games in the SEC, you got the Georgia Ole Miss game in Oxford. Like, do you want to go hit Snack Bar the night before the game, big bad breakfast day of the game? Yeah, you do. You can get into Vaught-Hemingway Stadium with Game Time. Use the GT Picks feature. It will help you find the best deals relative to the market. That's what I did a few weeks ago when my wife woke up and said, I'm taking our daughter to the Taylor Swift concert in Miami tonight. And I'm like, we don't have tickets to that. Well, Game Time had tickets. And Game Time, we wound up getting tickets where that is a photo of Taylor Swift my wife took from her phone. We did not have tickets the morning of the concert. That's how Game Time can come through for you. So if you want to go to Ole Miss in Georgia, if you want to go to Baton Rouge and see Alabama play LSU, download the Game Time app, use the code Staples, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Go to Game Time. They have those last minute seats, guaranteed best deals, and they'll find you the best seats.
Man, I want to go.
I know. But then what do you like? What do you do? Because then immediately after this one ends, the one in Baton Rouge starts. We need a private jet. Hey, all these new sponsors, NetJets. Come on. We're one of the stickiest advertising buys you can buy. Ask our listeners and viewers how they feel about Wendy's Saucy Nugs. They love them. They cannot get them out of their brains. Like it is almost like a hypnotic implant in their brains. They're like, Saucy Nugs, must buy Saucy Nugs. If you came to sponsor us, they'd be like, NetJets. For my next flight, I'm just going to book a NetJet.
That'd be great.
I think we should make that happen.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the video of the guy at the private jet company that recorded the call from the woman that wanted to send the group to the bachelorette party in Nashville from LA?
I don't know what you're talking about. No, I've never seen that.
She was trying to buy tickets on American, and the tickets, I think, on American for the entire group were going to total like $4,500 round trip. And so she's like, well, that's outrageous. So she's talking to the private jet guy. We wanted to see if we could get a better deal with you. And so, yeah, just, whatever your most economical option is. And he's like, okay, that'll be $84,000.
JSX is a very nice experience. We're not sponsored by an airline,
but we want to be.
But we want to be. I flew JSX once. I don't know if you've ever. Do you even know what that is?
Yes, it is a kind of private experience, but at a more commuter type price.
I flew JSX home from Vegas once, and my flight left at 11 a.m. because I refused to do early flights out of McCarran. I think that's the worst of a human experience, like going to Vegas's airport at 6 a.m. after being in Vegas for 3 days. The flight left at 11. I got there at 10:40. Time machine. There's no, the security is very, very quick. There's no terminal. There's nothing like that. And then you just get on the airplane. And there's only 15 or 20 people on the plane, and then it flies you home. And the Wi-Fi is great. Elite level snacks. JSX would be great, but you still have to get to a JSX terminal. Go ahead and read that. You want to read that?
Oh yeah. Wolfie Gator says, I love how Ari thinks it was about UGA playing bad and not that UF is possibly halfway decent. Yes, Beck made some bad throws, but UF did play fairly good in the trenches. They did, but we also have a history of Kirby Smart Georgia teams in games that they don't really need, or they're significantly more talented, where it's just like, and then when they need it in another game, they're a completely different team. We've seen this movie before. That's why Ari's picking Georgia to cover, and that's why I'm picking Georgia to cover. Because until Lane proves he can win one of these, I don't believe it. But I've seen Kirby do this. I've seen Kirby have a game where they kind of fart around, and it looks like they didn't take it that seriously because they didn't need it. And then they play a game they absolutely need, and they come out looking like the 85 Bears. So that's where I'm at on this one. Until Lane can prove me wrong, I'm riding with Kirby.
How is Lane?
So give me Georgia and Georgia plus or Georgia minus 3.5.
Do you think Lane Kiffin has managed to get out of the James Franklin-ish type hell from people, or do people in Mississippi feel that way about him?
He's actually not been dipped in it as far as he probably should have been.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but he will after this game if they lose. He needs to win this game, or he is squarely in the James Franklin zone. We got the friend zone. The James Franklin zone is the friend zone of coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. Is Ryan Day still in the James Franklin zone? He is.
He's in the James Franklin zone for sure.
We should do a column of all the coaches in the James Franklin zone. That'd be funny.